We now cross live to Sandton, where our colleague Nthankoana Ngatane is standing by. Nthankoana, an interesting past 3 days. Wrap it up for us.
Well, certainly, Desiree, we are at the Sandton Convention Center, and that is exactly opposite the Nelson Mandela Square. I have no doubt that almost all of the visitors who are coming here for the first time have made their way to the square and to the Nelson Mandela statue just across from here. Security continues to be tight. If you can hear above us, helicopters keep flying. Of course, this whole area around the Sandton Convention Center has been cordoned off and traffic has been redirected to various routes to ensure security around here. But yes, indeed, we are wrapping up today. And today we expect to find out if the richest square mile on the continent has delivered on its promise on ensuring that Africa becomes the continent of the future. We already know that Ethiopia, you have spoken about the president of Ethiopia. Ethiopia has signed an energy deal. We know that Rwanda has signed a tech city deal. We know that between Brazzaville and Kinshasa, there's going to be a bridge built between those two cities. These are countries that split on the continent. But of course, yesterday also there was talk of integration, how disintegrated this continent is, how much visas you need to travel the continent, and how difficult it is to do business between the countries of the continent. And this is one of the reports that's expected to come out today. I think it will cause a lot of waves in terms of how people will understand exactly how difficult it is for African countries to do business between one another. So these are the outcomes that we're expecting here today. Of course, South Africa, for its part, I think Desiree will probably find out if it gets money to expand the Gautrain from the African Development Bank or other investors and banks that are here, but also the other projects. Yesterday we spoke to ministers of science and technology, we spoke to ministers of energy, we spoke to MBCs of transport, and of course they are hopeful. They were saying that the sessions that they had booked were full and that there was a lot of interest. But of course, other countries also are expecting to get a lot of funding. Later on today, we'll speak to the new partnership for Africa's development, and that is NEPAD. We'll speak to people from Botswana, our neighbor, and understand how they fared in terms of attracting investment from the bank and other players that are here. And of course, you know that there were lots and lots of presidents here, from Ethiopia, from Nigeria, the vice president, from Cameroon, as well as Senegal and other countries, and they were hosted here by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And a lot of the people who have come here, Desiree, including business, they are saying this is the first time that they see this kind of engagement, because it's not just sitting and talking, it's actually signing. And also they're saying the vibe and the energy about this forum is very different from what we've seen in the past, because the president of the bank says that he wants Africa to go away from being an aid destination to being an investment destination. And not only is he going out and of his offices to attract that investment, he is sitting across the table from other banks with other heads of state to ensure that that happens. Desiree?
Nthankoana, the Ethiopian President Saleh Work Zaude provided for an interesting optic in terms of this gathering, but there was a concern that there was almost no female presence at this gathering.
Well, there is, but it's very marginal, Desiree. If you look at the panels that are held here, I mean, when I looked at the first media briefing that was held by the presidents of the banks, that on its own was like a panel of 7 men. When you looked at the presidents that were coming here, the only person who was female was the president of Ethiopia. And if you looked at the executives or the business, the private sector, we're talking about Patrice Motsepe, we're talking about Aliko Dangote, and you don't really hear the women billionaires from the African continent coming here. So this is a major area of concern. And when we spoke to the minister in the presidency, Dr. Nthankoana Ngatane last night, she said to us that one of the biggest challenges is still that women are perceived as micro, whether it's micro lending or micro business or small and medium enterprises. That's how women are perceived. And she says that has to stop, because there is nothing micro about women women. So I think as the time goes, we will see more women participating, but also there is a deal that has been signed here, a pledge by the African Development Bank. It has signed it with organizations including FinDev of Canada, and they will ensure that access to capital, but also the running of finance institutions is put in the hands of women to make the change that is required. So again, a lot of hope that this wasn't just a talk shop, that for a change, this was a platform where deals are made and where change is in sight for the continent. Desiree?
Nthankoana Ngatane there, wrapping up the Africa Investment Forum for us. Lots to be unpacked on that gathering, and we'll continue to do that on that show as we continue.